Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Infuse You podcast. My name is Teresa, and I am your host. The goal of this podcast is to help women and young girls fill up their cups. Well, that was the goal when I started 4 seasons ago, but this has turned into so much more. Not only do I want to help promote self care with women and young girls across the world, but I've also had the opportunity to invite special guests like the one who will be speaking with us today to help empower women and young girls across the world. So, Charell Golden is going to be my special guest today. And because we have National Women's Equality Day coming up in 2 days, I wanted to invite her to share her experience as a former female non commissioned officer in the U.S. military. So, to share a little history for those of you who may not be aware, women were officially allowed to join the U.S. military as permanent regular members with the passage of the Women's Armed Forces Integration Act in 1948. It granted women the right to serve in all branches of the military, including Army, Navy, Marine Corps, and Air Force, and entitled them to veteran benefits. Prior to 1948, women's participation in the military was largely limited to wartime, the notable exceptions like the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps, WAAC, during the World War II. In 1948, the act marked a significant step towards gender equality in the armed forces, though some restrictions on women's roles, particularly those in combat, remained in place for several decades. So I've had the pleasure of working with Charell as part of our regional HR team at Honeywell, and I want to welcome her and thank her again for saying yes to this interview. And before we dive into all of the questions that I have for you, can you share with us, Charell, your favorite life quote or a saying that helps you motivate you to get you through your day?
Yes, ma'am. Okay, well, first of all, thank you for having me, Teresa. I really appreciate it. Honored to be here to talk about my experiences. A life quote that I feel like is my favorite and that gets me through the day. It's definitely going to be a Bible verse, but I think you know me enough to that's not a surprise. It's going to be Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, and that's trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your path. And yeah, in so many words, just believing that even if I don't understand what's happening or if I don't like what's happening, that I need to trust that God is working it out no matter what. So yeah,
Yes, I love that. He always has our best interests, even if we don't know what's going on. It
always.
will come out better on the other side because of him. So thank you for sharing that. So can you share a little bit about your background, where you're from, your
Mhm.
family, anything that you would like to share for the listeners to get to know you a little bit better?
Of course. Well, I was raised here in Phoenix, but I am originally from New Orleans. All of my family is from New Orleans. My family, we moved before Katrina, not too long before, and my family moved like after Katrina out here. And I was here up until I was about 21. I joined the army. I left for the first time and I was like really the coldest that I'd ever been in my life, man. When I went to basic training, then it was so cold. Like I remember hating my life so bad. But yeah, I left. I went to training. I came back though because I was in the reserves for the first 3 years. And yeah, so I grew up out here. Family wise, I am the youngest of three. My mom was a single mom for the first couple of years of my life. Moved a good bit. We lived in New Orleans, then we lived in Texas, then we lived in South Carolina, Colorado, and then like we ended up settling here, which I'm grateful for because I love Phoenix. I'm glad to be back, and I guess I could talk a little bit more about that. Like I didn't think I'd be back here, but I am glad that I'm back here. It's working out really good. As you know, I'm a single mom. I have a son, Ezekiel. He is 3.5. He'll be 4 in November. His dad is in the army. He actually just deployed himself. He's somewhere in Europe. I don't know. I just talked to him, which is great because he just left maybe about a week ago now. Uh, what else? What else? What else? I joined the army when I was 21. And just to tell you before I joined the army, I actually joined the Navy. And I was like gonna go through with it and I was gonna go. And I'm so glad that I didn't for like so many reasons because I don't think that I would have wanted to be on a boat like on deployment. So I joined and then like I dropped out of so when you join, right, you got like a couple months in order to like decide that until you ship. And you could change your mind. They try to tell you that you can't, but you can change your mind. I changed my mind. I'm glad I did. I did that when I was like 18. When I was like 20, I moved in with someone that's still a good friend of mine. We were roommates at the time. We met working at Amazon together and we were living together. She told me that she was thinking about joining the Air Force. And before she told me that, I was already thinking about it because I think because of the Navy, I'd already thought about it like as an option. And I felt like I was working jobs, but I wasn't really like doing much. So when she told me, I'm like, oh man, stop playing. Like, I'll do it if you do it. So we went through it together. I'm glad we did. I credit her like to this day for like just that whole journey in itself because I don't think if it wasn't for her like wanting me to do it, I don't think I would have did it. And that's like to go into one of your next questions about like, how supportive were people when I joined. Man, my family hated the idea. Like hated the idea. When I tell you, like, I remember being at dinner with like my brother and my mom because my mom would tell you, man, her birthday is just like not a good day with like me in service. Like I joined the army like right on her birthday or something like that. I went active duty like 2 weeks before her birthday. I deployed just a little bit after. I went to
Man,
Korea just a little bit after her birthday. Like she just feels like I mess her over. It wasn't on purpose. It's just the way that it works out. But I remember being out to eat after I joined because it was my mom's birthday and I was at dinner and my brother was like, you telling my mom, like, you need to tell Charell she's making a mistake. She's ruining her life. Like he was so mad. Like so mad, I tell you. And honestly, like even he like still credits me now. He's like, man, like I couldn't have did what you did, but like you set yourself up for so much success. And it's it's so much more as I've told you, like as we've talked since I've known you, that like the on the other side of service, like it's so great. It's such a different experience. But yeah, I think I answered a couple of your questions in one. My
yes,
mom was also mad. I did have one supportive family member, and that was my older sister. She has always been supportive of my journey. My older sister is always just like supportive of whatever. So yeah, yeah, that's the
awesome.
answer two of your questions.
Thank you.
Of course.
Now, can you share some of your initial perceptions of military life once you joined, and then how did those perceptions change as you continue to serve?
Wow. Okay, so a couple of things. I could tell you that I thought I was going to be like so significantly different. And maybe in some ways I am, but I don't feel like maybe when I joined, I thought it was going to take a part of me away. Like I wasn't going to be the person that I was anymore. And while I may have changed and evolved, like through growing in service and just growing in general, like my past experiences never went away. Like I'm still myself underneath all that. And I think, you know, my family had this perception, especially my older brother, of like they're gonna brainwash me, I'm gonna be different or whatever. And while you are different and we do have to learn different things, like you're still yourself. Like and I know some people maybe some people aren't, but I could tell you that I wasn't gonna let no service change me to that extent because at the end of the day I'm still me. I just wear this uniform. Like this uniform isn't everything to me. And I think that's something that you also have to learn over time because, I didn't think that I would like it as much as I did. And that's why I went reserves first because I didn't think it was going to be like, I didn't think I was going to enjoy it as much as I did, but I really did. Like I wanted to go active duty, like maybe like right when I was in training, I was like, man, I could do this and I would be good at this. I ended up getting promoted like in basic training which not too many people get like when you're going through it. And I was lucky enough. I had a really good drill sergeant. We like we're still friends on Facebook. She made like a huge impact on me at that time. And then like because of who she was, she gave me the perception that like leaders in the army, man, like they are just like they seem so prestigious to me. And it's crazy because I talked to my past soldiers and they had the same like perception of like leaders in the army, man, they're who they're supposed to be. They look out for you. They know their stuff. Like, they're like elite in a sense. And I think, the more you go through service, I think the more you just figured out that some people just be getting promoted and then people are just people, like you got to give people the opportunity to be themselves. Like just because they have the rank doesn't mean that they're going to live up to every part of your expectation. So yeah, I think I thought I was going to be different. I thought that leaders were like so prestigious. And, another thing I thought too is that it was just going to be like a whole bunch of camaraderie. And while it was, I don't know, I don't think it was like what I thought it would be. I thought I would have like some really really solid friends that you keep for a long time. And while I do have a really good best friend from the army, I don't know that it's like that. I think the more you move, the harder it is to keep up with people. You'll keep up with the right people, but I think that was a perception that I had. I thought it would be a lot more close knit than what it is. And I think I'm pretty guilty of it myself, of not just like keeping up with people like I would like. So I think about them, but I don't reach out as much as I like wish I did, or at all sometimes. I feel like people are busy, life goes on or whatever, but I think I had a different perception that it would be a lot more close knit than what it actually feels like at times.
Yeah, I have a couple of friends that have been in the military, and like you said, life gets busy. You can't keep up with every single person, but yeah, I
Yes.
would think there would be more camaraderie. But if you're traveling all
Yeah,
over the world
I
and you're
know.
different places at different times, it doesn't always work out.
Yeah.
But
And it
glad
just
that you
gets
have the best
difficult.
friend.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My best friend is great. It just gets difficult with like the time difference, and like you keep up with the people that you keep up with. And it's interesting because I don't think I ever stop caring about the people that I cared about. I just know that, like, especially now being out of service, I think it's a lot more difficult for me to feel connected to the people that are, because our life is just different. I think that's why it's easy to feel connected to my best friend, because we transitioned within a year of each other. And I think that we went through a lot of the same life changes together. I don't think a lot of people that are in can understand that while we go through transitions multiple times, it's completely different when you're getting out. Completely different experience. I think that's what brought us closer together, is being able to have each other to like lean on during that, because we talk about it like it's one of the more difficult things. I think transitions in general, like people really downplay them. They're a lot more difficult than what people make you think they are. Like, I was talking to Seth, one of our coworkers, for those of you that don't know, but about it, like graduating from college and going to the corporate world, like that's a huge transition that you're just expected to just know and be an adult, and just be able to like change your entire perception, the way that you operate. And I'm like, man, I think people really underestimate how difficult that could be, especially while you're just going through life at the same time. Like, transitions are difficult. But yeah, like I said, I'm glad I have her, and I think we're able to stick together through some of the transitions. I know I'm answering some of your questions as I'm just talking,
That's
but
okay.
yeah, yeah.
No, that's totally okay. So the next question that I have is, how did you overcome adversity or difficult situations during your service? And then what are some lessons that you learned from those experiences?
Wow. Well, I told you when we were talking at that team dinner, I mean team dinner, team lunch, that this was going to be a lot more personal than what I wanted it to be. It's okay. Yolanda, as she was saying, she was like, it's part of your testimony. It's part of who you are.
It is.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
This
what the
is
platform is for. Your
yes,
testimony, your story is going to help another woman or two or three
yeah,
that will be listening
yeah.
to this.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Let's start off with some of the bad stuff, and then I could get into some of the good stuff about being a woman in the army. So, the first thing is that being in the military is difficult in general. But I think just being a woman, and also just being a woman of color, is really difficult. I think that I could be passionate about my work, and people could perceive it as, oh, I'm angry, or like I'm not able to be approached, or whatever the case is. And then also in the army, man, people just like they try you a lot. They try you so much, man. And I think when I went active duty, I was around some really senior people. Like, I worked at the highest level you could work at on post under the general. It's called division, and I worked in what's called the G1. And what it is it's kind of like working. I want to say it's kind of like working with a bunch of functional partners. Like, you're overseeing all of the operations on post, the HR operations on post, how they're doing. You're collecting all that data, you're giving it to the general, right? So at that level, you work with some really senior people, like who's over it is for enlisted, the highest rank that you could be is a sergeant major. We have a sergeant major that works in that office. We also have an O5, which is a lieutenant colonel. They work in that office. And to give you an idea, both of those ranks on average take about 20 years to get to. They also have a warrant officer, that's like a senior warrant officer. They're subject matter experts in HR that work in there, and they have about 20 years of experience. And then you have some lower levels of officers and lower levels of enlisted below them, but it's about 30 people, like give or take. I say like 20 to 30, depending on where you work. I've worked at two. So I just had the opportunity to be around some really senior people, get some really good experience. And because of that, like I went active duty, I was an E4, I was a specialist, I wasn't even a leader yet. And I think that I learned so much like before, like I would, other people normally would. I got more awards earlier than other people normally would from deploying with that group and just getting that experience and doing that amount of work out there. And I'm bringing all of that up for the purpose to say that, like, one of the hardest things I felt like I had to overcome is knowing more than what people felt like I did, and then having to just be okay with the fact that, like, they don't have to take my word for it, even though I know it's wrong, and then they're going to come back to me later, and then, I'm going to have to rectify it just because they wanted to do it the wrong way. I think that was really difficult, and I feel like if I reacted in the wrong way with being a woman, number one, that's disrespect in the army. You go about it the wrong way. People could think that you're being disrespectful. They could take it wrong, whatever the case is. And, me just being naturally loud, I feel like people can take that different either way it goes. So, yeah, I just think that was always so frustrating to me that I felt like I had to, at times I felt like I had to not be myself. And that was quite frustrating. Some of the more personal things I could tell you without getting too very detailed, just because it's very personal. I am a survivor of military sexual trauma, and that's probably one of the hardest things that's going to make me emotional that I've had to go through. Um and it's wrapped up in like so many different things because I it happened shortly after I went active duty, but right after I went active duty, my grandmother died, like right after. So when I left home, my grandmother, she had a pancreatic cancer, like stage 4. She got diagnosed in like February of 2017. I left and went active duty from like October 14th of that same year. And by November 18th, she had passed away, like really, really quick, really, really quick. And before I left, like she wasn't in the hospital and she was going through chemo, but like I didn't know that it was going to be so sudden. And that was really difficult. And because of that, I started drinking like really, really bad. And I think it's something that like everybody does in the army. I think it's like part of the culture in a sense. Drinking just put me in some not so great situations that led to the military sexual trauma. But in the midst of all of that, because I was drinking, I was getting in trouble at work. I was just so lucky enough. Like I said, I was with some really senior people that had a lot of pull because I could have gotten kicked out for the amount of trouble that I was getting in. I didn't think that I was gonna like overcome that at all whatsoever. Like I remember being at work hating my life so bad because I'm like, man, I'm so miserable, but I wanna keep my job because I don't know what I'm gonna go home and do. Like, what did I leave for? If this is what it's like. And it was just super difficult. And I just had some really good people that I worked with that really like took me under their wing. First, the people that helped save my job. Like, man, if it wasn't for them, like talking to the right people, like they were gonna kick me out. And I knew that they were. You have to go through so much in training when you get in that amount of trouble. And like I'm in there with other people that got in trouble drinking as well. They had been in way longer than me and they're getting kicked out, but they didn't work at the level that I did. They didn't know people of the rank that I did. That's, just to bring it back to God and that quote that I was saying, man, you never know. God is just always working it out, even though it's
Yes,
difficult. Like,
right.
and I really have a passion for like women that went through those things that didn't vocalize it because I didn't vocalize it for so long because I was getting in trouble and I wanted to save my job. And, when you go to the hold on really quick. You see, I knew they were gonna come down. Hey, didn't I say go upstairs? Didn't I say that I was working?
This is real life, y'all.
Goodness, I got my son and my brother's son. Good, because I was over here crying, girl. Goodness gracious, get yourself together.
That's
Okay.
all right. Again, you're sharing your testimony, and that
Yeah,
testimony is going to help somebody else, which is why I
that is
wanted you
true.
to be here. And I'm sorry that you had to go through that, but like you said, the people that were there in your corner,
Yeah,
those people that you work with, they help you
yeah.
get through because everybody's not going to have that. There's so many
They
people that
did,
go
yeah.
through that,
Yeah, yes,
and
yes,
they don't get a second chance or a third
yeah.
chance because
No,
but God,
for sure,
God
for
knew your
sure.
heart, and that's
Yes,
why you came out on
yes.
the other side.
It's crazy too at that time for me to not even be as close to God as I was, and how he was, now that I have a relationship and just reflecting, like, man, he just saved me so many times, and I'm just so grateful to believe the way that I do now, because like I wouldn't have known, and he just, everything works together for the good. Everything works together for the good of those who love him. So yeah, man. So to the story of what I was saying. So I was just getting in a lot of trouble, and that was extremely difficult. But I could tell you that, like I've said, God obviously was sustaining me. The people that I worked with was sustaining me. I was able to, like, they saved my job, the people that I was working with, just because of like my work ethic. It's funny because, like, I remember someone who's still a good friend of mine, she was saying, like, I would never know that you get in this amount of trouble, because at work, like, you're nothing like that. Like, you work so hard, and I don't have to worry about what you're doing. And she was one of the ones that started to help me to get other people on my side that would help me. And she was leaving to PCS to go to Virginia, but she still did all that she could, even from where she was, just so that she could save my job before I left. And that's why I say, God, man, he works it out. And after she came, man, we had got some new senior leaders. We were just about to deploy to go to Afghanistan. And when I went active duty, like, I knew I wanted to deploy. I think that's the part of where, I don't know, maybe I was a little bit brainwashed. Everybody wants to deploy after you join. At least when I went through, because people were still deployed, and I did, man. I wanted that experience, because that's how they talk about it. Like, you want the experience, and I felt like I wasn't in it if I didn't do it, and that was stupid. But I'm glad that I went, because that was like, it was a life-changing experience for sure. Two of the senior leaders, well, one of the senior leaders that decided to take me, man, I called him my army dad, man, because man, they did not want to take me so bad. And then when we got there, they were sending people back. And I thought that they were going to send me back because I was the most junior soldier that they took. And outside of that, I was the junior soldier that was getting in trouble, like, back at home. And, I was like, they not going to pick me, man. Like, and I remember, like, having, man, like, that deployment ended up being so good. When I tell you, it changed my career, and that's when, like, everything, like, just turned around. And I'm just so grateful to God for the people that he brought in my life, for that experience, because that's what changed my career for real. Like, I went there and I was getting so many awards just out of my time of being there. I think I got, like, man, 5 or 6 awards, man, like, joint awards, because I was in a joint environment for the first time. And that was great, meaning that I was working. I had, like, an Air Force supervisor at the same time, and she was fantastic. And we worked with, like, some Marines that were in the office, well, that came to visit. We had some Navy people that worked in the office with us. Like, it was an experience. It was such a great experience. And while you're deployed, man, like, man, that's where I took up, like, my love of running and running long distance, because the fob was pretty big. It was about like, man, 8 miles if you ran the whole thing. And who I called my army mom, my army dad was an officer. My army mom was a warrant officer, like the subject matter experts. And both of them are, like, really known from their career. At the time, he was my army dad. He was a lieutenant colonel. He's a full bird colonel now. I'm probably going to be a general. I don't know. I don't got social media. He might be a general by now. That guy, man. I remember the girl that I was saying to help save my job. She's a warrant officer as well. She retired, and I remember her telling me when we first met, like, that man, he gonna be a general someday. Like, I need you to make sure you have a good relationship with him, because, man, that's somebody that's gonna help you later. Man, she was right, man. But he's such a good guy. But yeah, so my army mom, man, she's older than me. Like, I want to say she's in her mid 40s right now. And I remember being out there, man. She was running before I used to run that much. She was running, and it was like some challenge she was doing for the month of January, like 100 miles for the month of January. And she was really running. And I remember being like, Yeah, that's crazy. If she could be out there running like that, like I should be out there running like that. So like I got it together. I started running and I remember like I really needed it because man, like you work every day, long shifts, like I would say 9 to 9, but like my NCO at the time, I was still a junior soldier. My NCO at the time, we would come like you do a lot with your team when you're deployed. Like you go to lunch with them. Y'all like you spend like an hour and a half at lunch, like just chilling or talking, doing laundry, coming back. Like you don't do nothing unless you got a meeting or something or got like work to get back to. You go to dinner together, you spend about the same amount of time. Throughout the day, you're able to like go to the gym. So like you break your day up with different things, but it is still a really long day. So we would get back from dinner, most of the time it'd be like around 8 o'clock. My NCO, he'd always let me leave. So I didn't have as long of a day as them, but still long days.
Yeah,
And I
that's
also
still
went
a
to
long day.
leadership school out there. Yes. I still went to leadership school out there, which was great. Yeah, man, it was a great time. It was a great time being out there. When I was in leadership school, I was a distinguished honor graduate, meaning that like I graduated the top of my class, which like I said, man, like it changed everything. I remember the last time that we ran the whole fob. I went with both my army mom and my army dad, and we were running. And I remember getting done, and they were behind us. I was with my army dad and we're walking. And he was telling me, man, he was like telling me how proud he was of me. And he's like, I'm so glad like I decided to take you because I knew this is where you needed to be. I knew that this was gonna like change your life. It was gonna change your trajectory. And he's like, I knew when we were gonna send people back that I wasn't gonna send you because like I knew that this is what you needed. Like, I didn't want you to go back home and go back to the same things that you were gonna do. And man, like, changed my life, changed my life. He was the one, like I said, that decided to take me, decided to keep me there. And I remember like some of the senior leaders there, they did not want to keep me there. And I'm so grateful for him because if it wasn't for him, like I don't think my career would be like where it is. So yeah, I don't remember what the question was, but
You answered it. That's okay. I was just gonna say whatever God has planned for you, no man can take it away. Even
yes,
though they
yes.
wanted to send you back, that wasn't in God's plan.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure, for sure, for sure. Yeah.
So, to the women that are listening to today's episode, what is one message that you would like to share with them if they're considering joining the military or for those women who are still serving in the military?
For those who are considering joining, excuse me, for those who are considering joining, I think while I may not have had some of the best experiences while I was in, it still was an experience that I do not regret at all whatsoever. It changed my life. I met some of the best people that I could have ever met in my life. I've seen some really cool places, lived in a lot of different places. It stabilized my life like I could never explain. And like I said, the benefits I mean, having veteran parents like on the other side, like it just takes care of you really well. But what I would say is that, number one, be safe, know who you're going to be around. If you are going through something difficult, utilize the services that you have and don't, utilize drinking and partying like a lot of people will, because you will and can put yourself in dangerous situations like I can. And people in the army are still just people like the way that they teach you to think is that this is your brother and sister, and at the end of the day those people are still predators too. Like you need to be careful about who you're around, and just don't be like me, man, and just drink to escape for what you're dealing with. Deal with it in the right ways. Get some solid friends that that are really there for you, because all of them are not, and just will leave you hanging just to have somebody to go out and party with. So, while it's a great experience, I think you just need to be cautious. And I think that's with anything, like no matter where you're going, no matter what you're doing, you need to be cautious with who you're dealing with and who you allow into your life, because man, people don't always have the same intent that you do. But
Yes.
go about it the right way. Like get the good experiences, use all the benefits that you can while you're in, and really stay focused, because it's so easy to get off your path for something or some guy, or because you don't want to get the right type of help, whatever it is. Like it can really be a life-changing experience if you allow it to be. And yeah, man, just no matter what, I've overcome some really difficult things while being in. And I think that it's just by staying determined that, like, I am going to be successful. I think, that helps with being a single mom and knowing that I need to be successful for me and him. But just staying focused, like no matter what, I'm gonna be successful no matter what people think of me, no matter how this experience went. Like I'm not gonna let this stop my progress. So yeah.
And then how has military service empowered you to become the woman that you are today?
Man, in every way possible, I think that it's given me the strength to be the person that I am, like unapologetically. Like I would never get on this type of platform or whatever and talk about who I am. And that's not just service, that's God, but God brought service into my life. And so I know that He did that for a reason to make me as strong as I am. I think it made me self-sufficient. And while that doesn't feel the best at times, I know I'm capable to go through things on my own now, especially with the strength of God. I think that it has just made me determined, like I was saying, like being resilient, like nothing's going to get me down. I'm going to make sure I get through it. And I think it's just the different life experiences, the different places that I'm in.
All right. So you recently made the decision to retire from the military. Can you share with us how you knew it was time and what drove your decision?
You know, the last most personal thing I have to say that made me realize I was ready was my mental health. Like it was really, really playing a toll on me. While you're in service, right? It can make it kind of difficult for you to get some jobs if you go and get help from behavioral health, if you're on medication. Like you can't get some of the jobs or do some of the duties because of that. And it makes people not want to get help. And I was one of those people, even though I was very well going through some really difficult things and needed help sooner than what I did, I didn't. And my mental health, man, it was really, really, really taking a toll. That was number one. Number two was my son and like just the danger of the job and just knowing that like, yeah, my mental health, my safety, and my health, my physical health too. I had hip surgery and it was just time. Like it was such a difficult decision because I really loved the Army. Like after deployment, I just was able to turn my career around in such a good way. I promoted really quickly. Like I knew I had such a really bright career, and like I said, I knew some really, really senior, really well-known people that I knew that was gonna help me to get all of what I wanted career wise. Like I knew that if I wanted something, they would help me get it if it was within their power, all of them. And it was difficult, but I knew it was time. And it kept presenting itself. I got lucky with the last duty station that I had here. I had the doctor, she worked like right next to where we worked, which you never really got to see them like that. They're a part of your organization, but you don't get to see them like that. And she was prior enlisted, and it's really hard to find doctors that like don't think you're faking or whatever the case is. And without documented stuff, like you're not going to get the right type of service. She actually was the biggest help to me that she could be. I wanted to start the process prior to getting hip surgery, but I needed to get hip surgery first in order to get that considered for retirement. And after that, like I had like an inpatient military a mental health stay, and she put all that in there. And when I got back, I got like some behavioral health, but it just wasn't what I needed. And like as time was going on, I was like, man, I am fighting this, and I just know that it's just time. And if she didn't start the process, it would never had happened because all I had to do was ask a doctor and they were able to see it in my records. But if it wasn't for that, it wasn't going to happen. And I just feel like you have to do so much in order to get out sometimes. And I'm so grateful again. God just like set me up with the right people. If it wasn't for her, all of the things that needed to be in my record wouldn't have, and I wouldn't have been retired. And all these things very well happened to me in service. Like I very well should be getting compensated for the things that did happen to me. And I know a lot of people be going and they be fronting about what be happening. And I don't like that either. I feel like people spend all that time in service and they have to prove that their body's broken. I think that's stupid too. But what I am saying is that I know people still be faking. I'm definitely not. And I deserved all of that. And I'm glad I got the right person that was able to help me get it documented. Um, yeah, man, physically, mentally, and just like with my obligations of being a parent, like it was time. It was time.
Of time. Now, switching gears, you transitioned from military to corporate workforce. I know that's a significant difference and change. Can you tell us what aspects have presented you with the most notable changes and how you're trying to adapt to those things that are different?
What is the most notable changes is just that although I said like it was not as much camaraderie as you think it is. Like, it's really close knit in the Army because it has to be. For my last like 5 years of active duty, I was a leader. And as a leader, you have to really be in the business of your soldiers. Like, you really got to know what's going on with their personal life, with their married, what's going on with their kids, like all of those things, right? And you spend a lot of time with them. And I think, you know, it was always easy to feel really close to I was always pretty close to my soldiers. You know, they were always pretty good people. And like, you know, and outside of that, you're all just so far away from your family. So it's easy to feel close. And I could say that it was like easier to have people to do things with. And now I don't feel like I have that same level of connection like I did in that sense. So, you know, that's a big difference. What else is different is that I think like leadership means different things in the Army than it does in the corporate world. Like, you know, I would go so hard for my people as a leader, you know, when they needed me to like defend them in a situation, like that's where we stand in. And I think, you know, I think it just depends on your role. But I think, you know, I don't feel that they it's the same level of support in that way. But I think it's because the expectation is that I'm supposed to be able to support myself in that way. And, you know, I had to do that as a leader, but I think it's different because I'm not a leader that that figuring that out was different for me, you know. And I think like I think I'm misleading in some aspects, not all, because I remember like being in the interview and like talking about the fact like, no, it'll be good to take a step back from leading. And it is because while I said like the Army's so personal, you really got to be in their business and like you do a lot of babysitting at the same time. And it's good to not have to do that anymore. But it is still an adjustment not leading people and like making decisions in that way and having to wait for somebody to make decisions like that. That's a little bit that was a difference as well. But these are all good differences though. Like I'm glad I'm getting to go through them and experience them, you know. And I think that I'm adapting a lot easier than what I thought that I would to the differences.
We enjoy having you on the team.
Thank you.
So, to women who are contemplating retirement, so they're ready to leave the military, what are 1 to 2 tips that you can offer them based on your experience?
My first tip is going to be to do as much research as you can, and to really, really, really know what you're doing. And when I say research, like in every way possible, when it comes down to physical and mental issues that you feel that you have, do your research of what you should be getting compensated for. Uh, don't like, I would say, don't wait on the doctors to tell you what's wrong with you. Like, if you know what's wrong with you, you need to go to the doctor and you need to claim it the right way so it's in your record so you can get compensated on the other side of service. If you have the opportunity and you think you have a case for a med board, then you should wait and you should go after it. Doesn't matter what other people in service perceive you as, go about it the right way, especially if you have a family, because if you go through the process, you can end up getting the benefits that you need for the rest of your life for your family. You know, I think it's kind of frowned upon depending on what organization you're in, but it doesn't matter. If something is wrong with you, you need like go about it the way you feel is right. It's your body, it's your mental health. Don't let people tell you otherwise. The other thing is make sure that you do your research of like what your experience are, everything that you've done and how you can translate that into your experience. I feel like people sell themselves so short of what we do, especially in my career field. It's so similar to what we do at Honeywell. And I think that people in the military, they don't understand that because you join with people that have only ever worked in the Army or went straight out of college and they've been in 20 years and they don't know what the real workforce is like. And they don't know that we're reliable and that we'll get things done and we'll be on time. We'll be where we're supposed to be when we're supposed to be there. Like, I don't think they understand that outside of all of the skills that we get and how that's comparable to the real world. I think you really have to do your own research. Even though they have transition programs, like you got to do a lot of that on your own to figure it out. And you would do yourself a disservice if you didn't do research. So I think it's worth doing if you're going to go about it the right way and plan. It's not something that I would do abruptly because you lose a lot of benefits really quickly and it can be really scary really fast, especially even if you have a job. Like I had a job obviously like as soon as I got out, but that doesn't mean that it wasn't stressful. Like that was just one less stressful thing to go through. Like I was talking about earlier, transitions are difficult, and that was difficult for me. So, do all that you can to plan and process the things that you can. So the things that you can't plan for, like how you're going to feel emotionally, so you won't have as deep of an emotional toll trying to figure out so many things as one.
Awesome. Great advice. So, with Women's Equality Day coming up in the next few days, which historical women's fight for equality is particularly inspiring to you?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with something that, we just remembered the name of. Netflix movie, the 6888, about the women's Army Corps unit, like the postal unit, um, in World War II, man. It was, first of all, that was a really good movie, man. I don't know what her name is, but the girl, man, from what's that TV show? Scandal?
Yes.
Yes. What's her name, man?
Oh my God, you're gonna put me on the spot. I have to
What's her
Google it.
name? It's a Tyler
Jeez.
Perry movie.
Yeah, I
I'm
should
looking
know
it up.
that.
Hold on.
I
What's her
should know
name?
her
What's her
name
name?
as many things as I watched her
I
play in.
know, right?
But yeah, it's a Tyler Perry movie, so
It's a Tyler Perry movie.
that's
Let's
Tyler
see,
Perry.
6888. What's her name? I need to know. I'm gonna find it because I need to know. Anyways, it's just inspiring. I didn't know that story until watching the movie, and it was so good. And
Harry
just seeing
Washington.
how, yes, there you. Why? How do I not know that? Like what?
I had to Google it. I knew
What is
it
it
up here,
about?
but I couldn't. It
I
wasn't
know.
coming.
Like I know her face. I
There
see
was
it
a
when I'm
big
hearing it.
all-star cast of
Yeah.
beautiful Indigenous women. So yeah.
It was. It was. They had some good people in that movie. They had that girl from what? Orange is the New Black, man. I like her too.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, that was just such an inspiring story about what they had to overcome, how they weren't getting the help that they were supposed to, how they were remaining as professional as they could even throughout all of that adversity. Like, I think it's something that my female leaders that I've had, like I told you, I've had some really good female leaders, man. I know some people, that's not the truth for a lot of people. I've had some really good female leaders in all different colors, man, all different colors. All of them were the hardest workers that I know, some of the smartest women. Go upstairs. Some of the hardest working people that I know. Yeah, yeah. So, I think watching them just reminded me of some of the strong women that I've worked with in the military. So, yeah,
It was a great movie. I really
yeah,
enjoyed it. I didn't know the story either until I
I
watched the film.
know.
So
Yeah,
just awesome. But what we've done and what's in history that we don't know that we should
I
still,
know. I
should
know.
be brought to the forefront. But
Yeah, for sure,
Tyler
for
Perry
sure.
does a great job when he creates all these movies.
I agree. I agree. It depends on the movie, though.
Well, yeah, it does depend on the movie because some of them he can keep them, but that was a
Yes,
really inspiring movie. So I'm glad
yes,
that he
I
made
hear
that
that.
one.
I hear that.
All right, Charell, is there anything else that you want to share about your military service, about women in the military that you haven't already shared with us today?
The other thing I want to share, and I think I've just talked a lot about it, is just how much it's changed my life. Going about it the right way, having the right people in my corner, and like remaining positive. Like I said, I've been through a lot, but I mean, I think you could attest to that because you're able to see the things that I have, you're able to see the job that I have, and just where I am in life. And I'm just so grateful to have had the experience through with all of the things that come with it. I think life is going to bring its ups and downs, but even with everything that came with it, like I would not be me if I didn't go through the things that I went through. I'm just so grateful. It's a great experience. Like nothing is going to take my pride in being an army soldier and have done it, have like ended my time honorably, like I said, when I didn't know that that was going to happen to begin with. I'm so glad that I was able to redeem myself and have such a good career. And I think like, I while I know I may joke about it sometimes, but I am really appreciative of the people that still sign up to serve our country. And it may be a really stupid job at times. You may go through some really stupid things, but I think like it's what we're told as we're in, man, only 1% of America join the military, man, and like it's a life-changing experience. So I'm grateful to the people that serve, have served, still serve, and the people that I've gotten the opportunity to serve with. Like I'm grateful for all of them, especially those that are still working, and people like my sons that are out there deployed right now away from their families. Like, they sacrifice a lot, and I'm grateful that it's not me anymore. And I'm grateful that they still have people like them that are willing to make those sacrifices for our country. So, yeah,
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Charell, for joining us. I appreciate you
of
so
course.
much. Like Charell said, she's not on social media, but you can find her on LinkedIn. That's
Yes.
the only social media that she has.
I'm gonna be back eventually, maybe. I don't know.
We'll see. So you can follow her on LinkedIn at Charell Golden. And then next week you can join me. I will have my special guest will be Edna Flores. She's going to be sharing her journey with PCOS, which is polycystic ovary syndrome. Commemorates PCOS Awareness Month, which is in the month of September. So you have been listening to the Infuse You podcast. I hope that something said today will help you along your life journey. Until next time, continue to do you, be you, infuse you, and be blessed.